Hi everyone, Julie again, and I wanted to talk to you about setting up your home workspace. So for those of you that are kind of doing this, ad hoc during this, COVID crisis season, don't feel like you have to go all out. You do not have to have a separate office. It's just trying to get you through, right? Um, so some of you might be spreading out across the kitchen table. Some of you might be setting up a desk in the middle of the living room so you can supervise the kids while they're doing their work. It really kind of depends on work you're having to do. So my advice, just to get you through, is to honestly start with something simple like the kitchen table, especially if your work can be done with noise and things happening around you. And some of you might be doing multiple. I do multiple, so I'll sit and work through my laptop at the kitchen table, on the couch, that sort of thing, while my kids are doing their schoolwork, especially if there's something that I need to supervise. But for any of you that might be needing to do conference calls, video chats, and that sort of thing, you're going to want to set up a separate office space. You need a door. Okay, you need a space with a door where you can shut people out. I would actually recommend for any of you with kids that are maybe not working 100% independently. My 6th and 8th grader at this point, or about 90% independent at this point. So for those of you with smaller kids who maybe need a little bit more direction, I would actually recommend you save all videos, tablet time, DVDs, anything that kind of frankly entertains and babysits your kids at the same time. Save that for the times that you have to be on the phone or video call. Use it as a reward, something you look forward to. When my kids were smaller, I used to stock up on DVDs from the library and check them out. So if your library has a section, hopefully your libraries haven't closed, but if you have a way to do that, I would actually recommend go ahead, anything educational, the kids science documentary-ish kind of shows, look on Amazon Prime, look on YouTube, whatever it is. Stock up on those kind of things for when you need to do phone calls or video chats or anything where you cannot be interrupted. Look for the longer videos, not the 20-minute ones. That's kind of something you have to watch for in kids shows because sometimes they're really short. So my kids, when they were small, and I'm talking kindergarten, first grade, they only got to watch TV. They only got to watch videos when I had to do a conference call or when I had to do a client call. And they came to love me doing client calls and video calls because that means they got to watch a video. So I'm not talking 8 hours a day of TV, guys. I'm talking for like that half hour here, half hour there, that sort of thing. So I'm not talking about 8 hours of screen time, but I'm saying if you're going to be in and out of that, then what I would recommend is save it for when you need them babysat or entertained or kept out of your hair, like when you're talking to your boss on the phone, So then I would frankly sit them down. I'm a really big believer in strong and open communication with your kids, to their age level and to the age appropriateness, of course, and just explain to them. You still have, explain to them the situation, explain to them you still have to work, that their job is to do their schoolwork and to continue learning. And there will be some times that you need them to behave and be responsible and do their schoolwork or watch their video for the short periods. You can't be interrupted unless there's blood or death. And that was always my rule. Is someone dead? Is there blood? Then don't interrupt me for the next 30 minutes because I have to be on the phone with my boss and you cannot screw this up. Frankly, kids are a lot smarter than we would think they are, or we treat them. Sometimes there's a lot of capability there for responsibility. I think in our current culture that we don't take advantage of. So give them that. Start them off with really short periods, like, okay, go do this worksheet and then come back to me. Build up to it, because even if your kids are older, they may not be used to this yet, and they almost have to be trained in a sense on how to be independent, and how to self motivate to a certain extent. So start off small, and it could be like 5 minutes and then 10 minutes. And then we're like, all right, guys, you've been working really hard today. You've had your free time. I'm going to sit down. I'm about to have to be on a call. Okay, this is with my boss. It's really important. This is supposed to last about 30 minutes. I've been saving this movie for you guys. I want you to watch the first 30 minutes or so until my phone call gets done. And then we'll take a break from that and we'll do that. We'll make dinner or whatever. So, use it as kind of a reward, or bribe. Sorry, but that's how I always thought of it. And allow your kids to rise up to the challenge. But I would practice in little short increments up until that moment, so they know exactly what to do because they've been doing it. Don't just throw it at them and say, okay, guys, I need you to take care of yourselves for the next 8 hours while I'm busy, because that doesn't work. So you build up in little short increments. Now, if you're the kind of job like mine used to be, where I was on the phone for like 4 straight hours, client, I would set checklist and to-do list. I have my kids do chores, age appropriate, that I frankly have already trained them on, making their beds, cleaning their bedroom, doing the laundry, and that just means, moving it from the washer to the dryer, maybe starting the washer, and then folding their part. Okay, they just fold part of the clothes. So even when they were little, there were little things I could do, and I would just make up stuff, to be honest. Here's a coloring sheet, here's a this, just to keep them occupied long enough for me to kind of get through this. And then you want to, even with older kids, you want to check in with them about every 30 minutes or so. Okay, older kids every 30 minutes. But little kids, even if younger kids, not littles, okay, I guess leaving little bitties unattended is probably not a great idea. But even with, kind of elementary age, upper elementary, 20 to 30 minutes, they should be able to keep the house from setting the house on fire, hopefully. So as long as you kind of give them that checklist, make them write it out, let them mark it off, feel that sense of accomplishment, they could probably self-entertain for 20 to 30 minutes at a time, hopefully. So, give them structure, and then continuously check in on them. So take a break, 30 minutes in, and just give them 5 to 10 minutes of your time. Okay, guys, there's another call. I got to get this out of the way. But after this call, we're going to take a break and go in the backyard and run around 16 times. Okay, so just hold on. So, give them rewards, give them an incentive, something to look forward to afterwards. I wanted to kind of talk to you about, first of all, before we go into more about how to structure your day, about how to set up your space and the different tools you might need. Okay, now granted, a lot of this is going to be affected by your job. Okay, so first of all, think about the technology you need just to get your job done, whatever that might be. If you're working from home, however, there's a couple things. First of all, you're going to need really good internet, okay? It might behoove you to call your internet provider right now and bump yourself up to the next highest internet capabilities. I'm talking speed, data, all of that. I always frankly go with the biggest package I can get and still be considered not a business, all the consumer options. So I'll get the strongest, longest, best speed, whatever data, blah, 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 that you can get. So for example, if your provider is Verizon, call them up, make sure you have boosted your package, because you are going to be using a heck of a lot of internet. And that's the first thing I would absolutely do. Now, if you're going to need to be doing video chatting, internet providing, none of that, let me show you how I have my home office set up. Please excuse all the papers and nonsense, because I have not cleaned up my desk in a while. So for example, here's my stack of schoolwork that I need to check for, do grades and all that kind of for the kids. I've been ignoring it for a couple of days because I just frankly hate doing it. But let's talk about this. So obviously you want a good computer monitor. for those of you who are kind of just home, hopefully for just a couple of weeks, we hope, work with what you've got. Okay, I'm not saying going out and spend thousands of dollars today, but I will say if you're going to kind of invest in a home office desk situation, get the best computer monitor you can afford. Oftentimes I will sit here with my laptop and my desktop computer going at the same time. You're going to want a really good computer camera. Don't go with the one that's built into your monitor, especially if you're working from a laptop situation. That's good for a limited amount of time, but they're generally not really great. So I bought basically a little external one that plugs into the back of my desktop. This one brand is Logitech. I got it off Amazon Prime. Had it shipped to my house. It was great. What you're seeing right here is a fancy, heavy-duty microphone. Most people don't need this, but I also am not a huge fan of being dependent on the microphone that comes in my computer or in my video camera or on my laptop. They generally aren't that great. They're good enough to get by, especially again if this is a temporary situation for you, if you're going to be going back to the office. But if you're going to see yourself doing this a lot, invest in save your money, invest in even a reasonable, it does not have to be this insane, a reasonable extra microphone. This was my last microphone. I just broke the stand on it, so I had to buy a new one. But this was my last microphone, and it sat right here on my desk. And I only have to plug it in when I was doing video, and it was just to make sure I got a really high quality sound. So I'm not getting like weird shishy kind of crazy noise in the background when I'm talking. Now this is the one I just upgraded to. If you're curious, this is the Bluebell. It came with this, and I bought it in a package with the stand that clips on my desk. I purchased all of this because I do so much video work. I do so much video chat with my clients. And frankly, I'm doing a podcast and all of that. So I need literally the absolute best microphone I can get for my money. This is not the most expensive option. I would say it's maybe lower mid-range, but it's really, really high quality. Again, I bought it off Amazon. So you don't have to spend a lot of money. You want to spend your money on technology, make sure you have a really great computer, you have plenty of storage and all of that. I use Dropbox. I use Grammarly for my writing. It does really great grammar checks, spelling checks, all that kind of great stuff. Dropbox is my online storage program. I recommend both of those. And beyond that, it's whatever software you need to do your job. Mostly I'm using video software, of which I've invested in a lot this year. But then it's Microsoft Office. Now, from those of you who are working for a company and now have to work from home, they may even provide a lot of that. You may have to be given a work computer. Of course, whatever's free, take advantage. Okay, I'm a big fan of taking advantage of free. I love free. Beyond that, what do you need? File storage system. Okay, you see I literally just throw my files in here. I have file cabinets under there that you can't really see at the moment. And that's really it. I work from my laptop multiple days a week. I have a briefcase bag that contains my files that I need for that day, my laptop. I have a pair of headphones so I can kind of edit video on the fly. I plug it into my laptop and you name it. So I can work from a briefcase bag, or I can use the full-on effect, okay? Again, you don't have to have a crazy space. Now let me show you one other thing you're really gonna need if you do video. Okay, so when you're doing a lot of video chat, video interviews, video whatever, you need to worry about your background, about what people see behind you. Now, I have been studiously avoiding showing you guys my dirty, messy bedroom because right now we're living in an apartment and I don't have a separate room for an office. Darn. I've had that in the past and it's amazing, but I don't always get that because we move a lot. So I found a very cheap screen and I purchased these little egg crate, foamy egg crate things to again help absorb extra sound so I have better sound quality when I'm recording. This is from Amazon. I purchased this from somewhere else. It was like $50. but you always want to worry about what's behind you. So when you're having to do all these videos right now, and this is kind of a temporary situation, what I would highly recommend you do is you will either turn your desk so the wall is behind you, okay, like I was just showing you in my previous videos. So you have a blank wall behind you. You might have to pull your desk out from the wall and kind of sit behind it, so you turn it around instead of it being up against the wall. And then frankly, then you could see my messy bed that I haven't made all day, and all the laundry that's piled up on it, and so on and so on. So this keeps you from having to spend 3 hours cleaning up your room. So it has, you have an acceptable clean room behind you, some sort of screen or you have to worry about what's in your background. That's one of the reasons I highly recommend that you're not doing any video chat, video interviewing, video meetings, recording, whatever, in a kind of public space in your house. So someone doesn't accidentally walk behind you on their way to the kitchen. You don't hear the dog barking in the background, and so on and so on. These little extra things are what you have to worry about when you work from home. So my desk has been set up in my master bedroom because that is the only place in this house that we had space. So the problem is like, how do I block off the bedroom part of this office space? And I have a couple different options. I actually have a background that I put on a stand for when I was doing videos out in public places. It's frankly a pain to set up. In one of my houses, which actually was my favorite, I had something that you can install a roll of paper to the ceiling and then you just pull the paper down. So it was like instant backdrop, kind of like when you go to CVS or to a pharmacy and get your passport photos taken and they kind of just pull the backdrop down. Love that. That was my favorite. It does not work on the ceilings in this particular house. So I just got a simple screen. So if you guys have this around your house, you can multi-purpose it. Otherwise, if you're not going to be working home for long, knock on wood, then I would recommend finding a blank wall and basically flipping your desk around so that you're facing out and the blank wall is behind you. So you want to also make sure you have a door to keep people out, to keep the kids out, to keep the dog out, to keep out as much extraneous noise as humanly possible. Beyond that, if you're doing a lot of video, you want to worry about lighting. I have a little bitty light that's sitting here on the floor. This was an impulse buy because it was sitting on, do you see this little light? Isn't it adorable? It plugs into the computer for power, but it was an impulse buy. It happened to be sitting in like one of those little technology type stores. It was sitting on the counter right beside the cash register, and I'm like, oh my God, I love that. I have to have it. I kind of wish I had bought more, to be honest, but it's a simple little light. I'll show you. You kind of go multiple brightness. Generally, I will use this as kind of like that extra random light to kind of fill in wherever I've got the little shadows. I also might use it kind of as upfill. Okay. Lately, I've been doing a lot of upfill, so I'm not getting the dark shadows under here, and so on. Again, that doesn't matter as much when this is a temporary situation, but if you want to start doing like maybe higher quality video or video chats, if you're working with really big clients and you're worried about kind of like what they see in presentation and all of that, then you want to kind of start thinking about that. So again, this one, I just, any kind of handheld that you can just kind of move around and you adjust. I also have a little one that sits up behind my computer. Let me see if I can show you guys that one real quick. Okay, so this is the one behind my computer. Again, most of these were impulse buys, sorry. And these are not expensive ones. We're talking $10 to $15, and they're not completely necessary. So if you're only gonna do video, or if you had to do a video conference, this is temporary. It might be once in a while. You don't have to be on video. I wouldn't spend the money. But this one is great because it's touch tone, and I really like that. I just have to touch right here at the end and it turns it on. But I will often use that when I'm doing video on the desktop because I want to make sure that I have kind of a light behind the camera and I have good quality light there. And I've got some weird shading issues with the lights and things, especially when I'm using this dark backdrop. Which doesn't reflect light very much, and so I do get a lot of kind of weird shadows in this room. It's kind of bizarre. So these are some of the things you might want to think about when you're kind of setting up your home office space. If you have to be on the phone a lot, you're going to need a private space to do it where they cannot hear kids in the background. I think people might be understanding about that for the next couple of weeks, but generally of course, we're always concerned about professionalism and people wanting to take it seriously and all that kind of stuff. So, it's just one of those things you worry about in the professional world. So I was always very hyper cognizant of that. And so I trained my kids from a very young age to give me like 5 minutes. Hey guys, I have to make this phone call. Everybody needs to be quiet. Read your books for this long. I'll come out in 5 or 10 minutes. Start small, work your way up. Now my kids are older and almost all of their work is online anyway. So I just have to kind of keep checking in with them, and I'll give them a heads up before I have to start doing client calls or videos. Hey guys, I have to do this video. Does anybody need me for anything before I get started? And I'll be out in a few minutes. So you can be working straight. Otherwise, if you don't need any of this video stuff, if you're not going to be, if a lot of your work is just going to be kind of computer based, calls are going to be few and far between, then maybe you want to set up in a more common area so you can be a little bit more participatory in the kids' space. Again, for example, I have set up, I've worked at my kitchen table right in the middle of the dining room. I've set up the couch with my desktop, my laptop, especially when I'm kind of like trying to drill through emails or I'm just trying to like edit or write stuff. Frankly, stuff that has to get done but doesn't need to be completely uninterruptible time. So feel free to have to move around the house if you need to and be very flexible. I know that there's not going to be a lot of like traveling to coffee shops and that sort of thing, co-working spaces right now. So I'm not going to talk about that in this particular video, but I wanted to give you a heads up. And use what you have, just repurpose what you need for this time period. Don't feel like you have to spend a lot of money right now, especially if this is going to be a temporary situation.